President Obama has been blamed for just about everything, even things that happened 5 years before he was president of the United States, like when Trump spokesperson Katrina Pearson blamed Obama for the death of an army captain in 2004. You might remember President Obama became president in January of 2009. President Obama has also been blamed for the response to Hurricane Katrina, which also happened when George W. Bush was president. A 2013 poll actually found that almost 1/3 of Republicans blamed President Obama for the bad response to Hurricane Katrina, which of course had nothing to do with him. He was not president at the time. He's been blamed for Ebola. Some aid workers and nurses actually blamed Ebola on President Obama. The war in Ukraine was blamed on President Obama. It's a very long list now. And now a Republican named Amy Holmes is actually blaming Donald Trump on President Obama. Let's see if we can figure out what case she's making here.
And Amy, the argument that I'm making, the political argument that I'm making is that that's great for the base. That will put 20,000 people into an arena all fired up. But it doesn't win general elections because there's just not the cross appeal that's necessary. How am I wrong?
I would agree with you that no, you can't win the presidency with your base, and that applies to the left as well. That applies to Hillary Clinton. But I disagree with your premise that this is coming out of right-wing radio. My former boss, Glenn Beck, has been on radio lambasting Donald Trump for the last year. This is ridiculous. If you want to point a finger at who gave us Donald Trump, you can point it to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and that is Barack Obama. That came from the midterm election in 2010 that gave you the Tea Party, the midterm election in 2014, where you had voters who said to Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, we want to put the brakes on legislating by executive action, by President Obama taking this agenda to the left. And Donald Trump supporters, if you've looked at polling data over the last year, they actually sort of span the ideological spectrum. They're not just from the right, they're also from the center, also disaffected voters who want a voice in politics, and they feel that Beltway politicians have not been listening to them for a very long time.
What? I think the argument is the midterms saw the rise of the Tea Party. The Tea Party was against Obama using executive action. Trump supporters include people from the Tea Party who don't like the use of executive action. So thus Obama gave us Trump. I mean, is that the story that Amy Holmes is telling us here?
I think so, but it's interesting because the question also comes up, is this an attack on Obama's identity, or would she have applied this logic to, let's say, Hillary Clinton if she had been the president?
Oh, of course it's an attack on Obama's identity. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the whole executive action thing, we've talked before, Lewis, about how President Obama has actually used fewer executive actions than certainly all Republican presidents and even fewer than some recent Democratic presidents. This is, of course, what she's really saying. And this is interesting because I'm not exactly sure what identity boxes Amy Holmes checks, but shouldn't really matter. We're going to analyze what she said based on the words, not on her skin color. Of course, this is about President Obama as an individual who is half black and is accused of being Muslim by some and whatever. That's the anti-sentiment which has been coalesced by Donald Trump.
Yeah. Well, what she did was this is kind of complicated, but let me go through this.
Please.
So Republicans over the past 8 years have blamed Obama for everything. They've been crafting this narrative that Obama is to blame for XYZ, race issues, fiscal issues, poverty, you name it, because they don't like Obama, they don't want him in office, and they wanted him out 4 years ago. And now what she's doing is basically taking everything they said, claiming it's true, and saying that this is the reason that we have Donald Trump, when in reality we have Donald Trump because of the rhetoric that those Republicans have been using for years that's anti-Obama and anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim.
It goes beyond that. Yeah, I mean, the Republican Party has coddled and incubated this horrifying, authoritarian, nativist, xenophobic, homophobic electorate while trying to sort of publicly pretend that they're all about a big tent and inclusion and whatever. So, of course, now Trump shows up and he's way up front about the fact that he'll build the wall and Mexicans are rapists and Muslims are going to be banned. And the fact that the Republican Party has sort of quietly, sometimes not so quietly actually, allowed those ideas to exist. Trump puts them all together. The only people to blame are the Republicans who have allowed this to be a legitimate part of their party for the last 20 years, isn't it?
Yes, but she's also not the first person who's tried to blame Obama for Trump. The former Republican Louisiana governor Bobby Jindal said in the
It's funny already. Yeah, just his name, just mentioning him is funny already.
It is. In the Wall Street Journal, he said, okay, Obama created Trump because he refused to work with Republicans on healthcare reform.
You know, I remember it going a slightly different way, Jason. I thought it was Republicans who were doing everything possible to avoid any change to health insurance in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing anything they can to change, not to change anything, and to keep, all this money funneling into the pockets they want it funneled into. And they're definitely going to use the same rhetoric. Once Hillary's elected, they're going to use the same rhetoric for the next 8 years to, excuse, Trump losing and not getting their way like a bunch of crybabies.
This is the second time Jason has used language that shows it, for him it's a foregone conclusion that Hillary Clinton, the whole when Hillary Clinton is president thing. I like how confident you are, but I'm not convinced yet.
I mean, I'm an optimist, but there still are, 70 days left for everyone to try to campaign and win. So,
all right, we'll take a break. Back with more after this.